WWE Night of Champions 2012 in the books. And this is UnderTheWire85 here on YouTube to give you my review of the event. Overall, pretty good pay-per-view. Lots of very good matches. I was not at any point really bogged down by any one match. 7 matches on the card. If you listen to my predictions segment, you can now follow it up with this review. Great event, Night of Champions in Boston, John Cena's hometown. That is the main event, CM Punk and John Cena. I will get to that match at the end since it was the main event. There was a 16-man battle royal to start the event. It was on YouTube and WWE.com or wherever you wanted to find it. If you cared, I think it was like 30 minutes before the match, or I should say before the pay-per-view. And so that match took place. There was Santino Marella, Zack Ryder, Brodus Clay, Primo Epico, Justin Gabriel, Lord Tensai, Tyson Kidd, Michael McGillicuddy, Darren Young, Titus O'Neil, Jinder Mahal, JTG, Drew McIntyre, Ted DiBiase, and Heath Slater. That's a lot of people. Hey, let's just make that the Jobbers Battle Royal. No, actually, those guys aren't all jobbers. But regardless, all of those guys were put into the 16-man Battle Royal for a shot at the United States Championship. And for those of you that did not see it or just didn't care until the United States match happened that night, Zack Ryder won the match. The final 4 guys were the primetime players, Zack Ryder and Lord Tensai. Titus O'Neil, Darren Young, primetime players for anybody who doesn't remember them. Those 4 were the last 4. The primetime players were thrown out, and then Zack Ryder eliminated Lord Tensai to get the shot at Antonio Cesaro later in the night. Woo, woo, woo. You know it, bro. That's right. That was definitely something I was enjoying. I did watch the pre-show match. I'm glad he got the shot, because he's kind of been buried ever since he lost the title and then got, almost killed by Kane. He's pretty much been irrelevant ever since then. First match of the night was the Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental title match. Sorry. I'm glad they started with this match simply because it was kind of thrown together at the last second. At least in the United States title's case, they at least planned a battle royal to start it. That way they could have it in the middle of the card. That was actually planned. So the IC belt not really being planned, I'm just glad they did it first and got it out of the way. The Miz, Rey Mysterio, Cody Rhodes, and Sin Cara. For most of this match, it was Sin Cara and Mysterio throwing Cody Rhodes and Miz out of the ring, and then Cody Rhodes and Miz got back in the ring, and they beat them up, and then they get thrown out again. So Sin Cara, Rey Mysterio, they both did their moves, they both worked together, they both worked well. Cody Rhodes was essentially a non-factor for most of the match, as was Miz. End of the match comes, Sin Cara pulls out a mask to put on Cody Rhodes, which, for anybody that's been following, Cody Rhodes has been trying to demask Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara for weeks now, which anybody who knows that storyline knows it never works. Ever. Regardless. So he tries to put a mask on Cody Rhodes. Doesn't work. Then The Miz puts Sin Cara up in almost like a power bomb situation, which he never does. Sin Cara puts a mask over most of his face. Covers right to about here, maybe even right here. Covers about that much. The Miz, who had just gotten up from being hammered by Sin Cara at that time, was The Miz gets the mask put on him. Cody Rhodes comes in, is about to do Crossroads, the only thing of use he would have done that night. The Miz falls into Cody Rhodes, blind, or seemingly blind, and gives him skull-crushing finale. 1, 2, 3, The Miz retains. Decent match. I wish Cody Rhodes wouldn't have been irrelevant for more than 5 seconds, but that's the way it is. Miz picks up another cheap win. I'm not really a fan of The Miz. I think he's awful, not awesome, but this company seems to think he's worth it. Whatever. He's an IC champion. They're going to put him back into the main event at some point, and it didn't make sense for any of those three guys to just all of a sudden get the belt. Whatever. Miz wins. Congratulations to Miz fans. Second match on the night was the tag team title match between R-Truth and Kofi, who did not come out in suits. Thank God. Pyro might have messed that up. Against Daniel Bryan and Kane, which, as expected, Daniel Bryan and Kane are fighting literally the entire match with each other. Good back and forth. R-Truth gets beat up for a while as Daniel Bryan and Kane decide, hey, we're going to work together. Then Kofi Kingston comes in, does his high flying, thinks he's going to win the match. Then Daniel Bryan and Kane, just when you think they're clicking, Kane goes up on the top rope and shoves Daniel Bryan out of the way. And then Daniel Bryan shoves Kane into him jumping off the turnbuckle, landing onto Kofi Kingston. 1, 2, 3, your new WWE Tag Team Champions, Daniel Bryan and Kane. Vastly entertaining match, let me tell you. And like I said, the WWE loves to do this. So with that being said, we have a vignette later in the night with Daniel Bryan and Kane, after, of course, they both claimed they were tag team champions by themselves. They had a vignette later in the night of them still going around going, I'm the tag team champion, blah, blah, blah. And then AJ comes out, freaks out, and that weird anger management guy's there, which, whatever. And then Daniel Bryan congratulates Kane. Kane walks away, pisses off everyone, then comes back and gives Daniel Bryan a Gatorade bath and says he's going to Disneyland. Awesome. They can get a lot of mileage out of this tag team, and I'm glad they decided to go this route. Even though it's not a huge surprise, I'm glad they went this route. Now they can go and face the primetime players and beat them. And until somebody gets a ton of momentum again, I think these two can be tag team champions for at least, a few months. At least. So very pleased with that outcome. Third match of the night was the United States title match, which Antonio Cesaro had no idea who his opponent was until that match, supposedly, but I'm sure they didn't completely keep it from him. Because that's how the WWE works. Zack Ryder comes out and is the competitor that's going to face him for the U.S. Championship. Great match. I hate Cesaro's gimmick of, hey, I have to say everything in 5 languages. But nevertheless, good back and forth. Cesaro proves that he can wrestle, which anybody who watched him in Ring of Honor knows that's not a surprise. Zack Ryder gets in a position to do the broski boot. Oksana comes out, who is Antonio Cesaro's valet, which, by the way, she looks amazing in black, but incredible in red. But they do make a good pairing, regardless. So with that, Cesaro gets the distraction, crawls back in, gives him, I don't even know what to call that. He basically grasped him like this and then slammed him down. I don't know what they called that. In fact, I guess I had stepped out of the room for like 5 seconds and missed the very ending of it. But Antonio Cesaro retains the U.S. Championship and continues on. I do see Zack Ryder being involved for a while, but like I said before, Antonio Cesaro just needs to start beating. This is the same comparison I have with Zema Ion in the X Division in TNA. Just keep throwing different kinds of people at Antonio Cesaro. That's what makes it compelling. Because then you have him beat lots of different guys in the mid-card section. So for instance, at the next pay-per-view, you could have him face Justin Gabriel. Or somebody like that. Jinder Mahal, Ted DiBiase. All those guys are just a little bit different. So that's what I would do. Antonio Cesaro wins the match. The fourth match of the night was Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler. I'll get to that in a second. Before the tag team match, I actually forgot to mention this, there was a small little vignette of Caitlyn being injured by an unknown masked assailant. Just say she didn't see her. Just say that. Somebody goes over, talks to Eve, who was talking to somebody. I forget now. Eve comes over and says, "Oh no, I gotta go talk to Booker, and because we gotta get a replacement." Remember, Eve was doing vignettes about how she was so happy it was Caitlyn and Layla, which means she probably had something to do with it. It might not have been her, but she probably hired it. She goes to Booker T and says, "Caitlyn can't compete. How are we going to find a replacement?" Booker T says, "You've been doing a great job. You can replace her." Teddy Long has that look in his eyes going, something's fishy. Something's fishy. So that sets up Eve, Layla later in the night. I'll get to that. I wish it would have been earlier, and it probably would have been, but they planned it this way, and that's the way it is. That's coming up in a second. Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler. Easily match of the night up till this point. There was one more match that was right up there, 1A, right up there. Dolph Ziggler comes out very confident, and Randy Orton comes out in his boring, I hear voices gimmick. You're too talented to have an awful, awful gimmick. Can we please do something with Randy Orton? Has he been hearing voices for 7 years? Shouldn't he be in a mental institute with Kane? Just saying. Just saying. It's horrible. Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler, they both go back and forth. It ended up turning into a fist fight at one point, which is awesome because both guys are known as, well, I don't know if you could call both of them tacticians, but they're both very good at doing pinpoint moves in the ring. Dolph Ziggler hits him with, for lack of better terms, the Famouser. Randy Orton hits him with all his stuff. He even gives him the DDT that he normally gives him from the ropes, from the barrier outside onto the floor. Which, if you remember from like 15 years ago, that would have like almost killed somebody, or at least the announcers would have said, "Oh my God, he's dead." Love JR. Wish he was back. Also, something I forgot to mention. Michael Cole starts out the show, and of course Jerry Lawler's not there. His replacement, JBL. Awesome! And of course the crowd loved it too. JBL, this should have happened a long time ago, first of all, because JBL and Michael Cole were gold on SmackDown before JBL decided to get back into the ring, and then he retired again. He did his own thing with, I believe he's still with Fox News. JBL, Michael Cole called a great night of wrestling. JBL always keeps Michael Cole in check, which is where Michael Cole should be, because he's fine until he gets too much creative control with his character, and then it just gets stupid. So JBL's there to point out the, hey, let's not hug it out in the middle of a championship match for Kane and Daniel Bryan. Or histronics, a completely made-up word. JBL needs to stay around. I don't care how, he needs to be announcing again. Period. Maybe he should be the third guy. Or maybe he should be the guy until Lawler comes back, and then he can just be the third guy again. That'd be incredible. Back on track. Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler. Great match. Best match of the night, I would say, up until this point. Best match of the night. Randy Orton comes up with the, I'm going to throw you in the air and then give you the RKO, and pin Ziggler, which, let's bury Ziggler some more. Great match. Still think the wrong guy won. By the way, Antonio Cesaro threw Zack Ryder in the air and gave him an uppercut. That's awesome. That's like Street Fighter. That's Sagat with the Tiger Punch awesome. Antonio Cesaro is going to be relevant for a while. Calling it. His gimmick sucks, but he's a good wrestler. Randy Orton wins the match and sets up Randy Orton to either get a title shot once Dolph Ziggler wins the match, or I should say wins the belt when he cashes in, or maybe he's got a title shot coming against the World Heavyweight Champion soon. Fifth match of the night, Layla defending against Eve Torres for the Divas Championship. So Layla comes out, and then Eve Torres comes out, and Layla has that look on her face going, why am I facing Eve? This is just going to go bad. Layla's finishing move is apparently, I'm going to jump on the bottom rope, then jump on the middle rope, and crossbody you for the win. And then Eve Torres did a move that was very similar to Crossroads, and wins the match. Kind of uneventful. Layla's, she lost some weight, which is good. Not that she was like fat before or anything, but she looks even smaller. And ever since Michelle McCool left, she just hasn't been the same. Of course, she was out for a year with an injury, so I can't really say a whole lot to it. But Eve wins the match. It sets up Eve versus Caitlyn, because Caitlyn will find out it was Eve, or Eve somehow orchestrated it. So that sets that feud up, and maybe Caitlyn can win the title from Eve that way. Sixth match on the card, Sheamus versus Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship. Before the match comes out, or before the match starts, Booker T comes out and says the bro kick is legal. That's great. Why don't we just have some suspense and not say that at all and have Sheamus wrestle without it? So right then and there, I knew Alberto Del Rio's chances of winning the World Heavyweight Championship went pretty much down to zero. A lot of people are going to say this was not a good match. I really question that, because Sheamus is a powerhouse, which he's going to prove that in the ring, and Alberto Del Rio is one of the best wrestlers they have on the roster. I'm sorry, if you disagree with that, then I'm just going to agree to disagree with you, because he's better than a lot of guys at just doing simple moves, and then the fact that he performs the moves he does with much simplicity and very smooth in the ring, much like Cesaro, which I keep talking about because I'm just impressed that they pushed him so soon. Chris Hero, look out for him, or whatever name they gave him to. Alberto Del Rio puts him in his arm lock about 4 times, and Sheamus had missed his brogue kick about 3 times. Finally, Alberto Del Rio, once you think he's going to pull off the match, Sheamus hits him with the brogue kick and wins the match, retains. He had hit David Otunga, who now is wearing like an orange sweater to the ring, which that's all I have to say about that. There was another vignette earlier in the night with Ricardo Rodriguez not wearing his neck brace, which means that that's probably why Booker T decided to make it legal again, because maybe they were faking it. I don't know what this does for Alberto Del Rio, because now that he's had like 4 different title chances and he's lost all of them, now this opens the door for Randy Orton to get a shot. Maybe Dolph Ziggler gets a shot at some point soon with the briefcase. Or maybe they'll just give Alberto Del Rio another chance. I really just think they should just make it Orton Sheamus now, but that would make sense. Orton takes the title from him, and then Ziggler cashes in and wins it that way. I guess that makes sense. So I guess it's not a total loss that Ziggler lost tonight. But Orton wins. Last match of the night, CM Punk taking on John Cena for the WWE Championship in John Cena's hometown. Another thing to add, apparently the WWE has teamed up with the Komen Foundation. Their middle ring is going to be pink for probably the next month and a half, because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I guess. So much like what the NFL is probably going to do, they're going to be having pink in their ring or on their apparel or all that good stuff. John Cena even has hats and shirts that are pink now, which at first I thought that was a Bret Hart thing, and then I realized that they were teaming up with the Komen Foundation for the breast cancer stuff, which is good, but a month and a half. Can we have it for like a week? I'm just saying. CM Punk, John Cena. They, as I said in my predictions segment, they covered for the Jerry Lawler heart attack thing very well. By the way, Jerry Lawler, glad you're feeling better. Up and around and well. Let's just not wrestle for a while, because it's probably going to involve your health again. Just be careful. So CM Punk and John Cena, they show the big long vignette, and what's really funny, which if you didn't notice this before, I found this really funny. John Cena basically compared CM Punk in an off kind of way to Barack Obama. Hey, we want to change, and we really didn't get any. Think about it. So CM Punk comes out. Oh, by the way, Paul Heyman being involved is just weird. I mean, I get it. I like Paul Heyman, but it's just unnecessary with CM Punk. CM Punk comes out in pinstripe trunks. Awesome. A buddy of mine said it was NWO colors. No. Can we please bury the NWO? That's my phone with Wolfpack's going off right now. See, that was old nostalgia where it needs to stay. Pinstripe trunks is what CM Punk came out with, navy blue with the pinstripe, which they called subtle, but it was pretty obvious to me. John Cena comes out. CM Punk holds the belt above his head before the match starts for like 5 minutes, which, stall tactic. No, it's just dumb. Just get to the match. Just add 4 more minutes of a match. Which was a very good one, by the way. Not saying that CM Punk and John Cena have had a bad match before, but this was a really good match. Back and forth, they both hit their finishers like 4 times. They both kicked out. And then we get to the end of the match, and CM Punk is up on the top. Which, by the way, CM Punk tried a moonsault and missed. I don't know which one was more awkward, him or Kurt Angle trying one. Probably on the same page. Regardless. And CM Punk also did the rock bottom, which was hilarious and awesome at the same time. John Cena kicks out of that. John Cena is up. He gets up on, there's either the middle or the top rope on the far turnbuckle. Slams Punk down. Pins him. New WWE champion John Cena. Then we see the ref come out and say, no, your shoulders were down on the mat. Replay shows John Cena's shoulders are down on the mat. 1, 2, 3. It's a draw. If there's one thing that is very annoying, I get why they did it. I've now had a few minutes to look back on that and say, okay, it sort of makes sense. Why are you ending a championship match in a draw? Look, I get it. It means they're going to have a rematch at the next pay-per-view. Because they don't have anybody else to put on CM Punk yet. Or on John Cena yet, except for each other. Because they like where they're going. That's fine. But at least have CM Punk or John Cena win in either, well, in CM Punk's case, a backhanded way, or in John Cena's case, straight up. Heel, face, you get it. But no, John Cena and CM Punk's shoulders are on the mat, 1, 2, 3. It's a draw, which means CM Punk retains. Am I drastically upset with it? No. Do I think they could have ended it a better way? Yes. Does it set up a rematch? I believe it's Hell in a Cell is the next one in October. Sure, it sets up a Hell in a Cell match between the two. That should be just as entertaining as any of the other matches they've had. But let's just have a winner. Let's have Paul Heyman get involved. Let's have CM Punk win not clean, which I guess he technically didn't win and still kept the belt. Regardless, it was the match of the night, along with Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler. Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler worked extremely well together. CM Punk and Cena have always worked well together. And those four guys are this company right now. They are. I mean, you have CM Punk, John Cena, and go along with Sheamus. Those guys are the guys of your company right now. Cena, Punk, Sheamus, and then Orton and Ziggler. You're going to put those guys in spots where they're going to have good matches with each other. So, for the most part, overview of the entire pay-per-view, I'd say it was very good. I was not expecting a ton out of this pay-per-view because most of the matches weren't hyped. If Daniel Bryan and Kane would not have been involved in the tag team match, I would not have been excited for that. I really would have only gotten up for the Randy Orton-Dolph Ziggler match and the two title matches because they're supposed to both be relevant. But the U.S. title match was good. The IC match was okay for it being kind of on the spot. The Divas match was because that's how they always are, with a few rare exceptions. The tag team match was very entertaining. I still found joy in the World Heavyweight title match, even though people will say that was kind of a lame point. And the WWE title match was great. So until then, enjoy Raw, Impact, and SmackDown. The next pay-per-view reviews, predictions, all that stuff will be coming up in a month because TNA's is not for another 3 weeks. And of course, the WWE does not have one for another month. I might be starting to make videos every week for the recap of wrestling. In fact, I'm going to try and do that for Raw, Impact, and SmackDown of that week. So keep in mind for that. Under the Wire 85 coming at you here. We will tech you on the other side.